Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trek Canon, obviously bootleg edition. So today I wanted to talk about Trelane, and I'm going to do that through the use of three episodes. The first episode is going to be the Squire of Gothos. The second episode is going to be the Q and the Gray, and the third episode is going to be True Q. All right, so if you haven't seen these episodes, please stop this video and go check them out because it's going to be spoilers. So here's the thing. First of all, let me just say on the record that it has never been confirmed or denied that Trelane is or is not a Q in Star Trek canon. All right, but behind the scenes, I want everybody to understand that people like Trelane, people like the Metrons, yeah, people like the Metrons, uh, people like Apollo. All of these types of ideas were put into the character of Q, all right, by Gene Roddenberry. Okay, but that is behind the scenes and what the character of Q is based on in the Next Generation. But let's get into the canon of it because that's what we do here, people. We get into the canon of things. All right, so check this out. This is what's going on. Now, if everybody, of course, remembers the episode "The Squire of Gothos." Now, I'm not going to get too much into all of the stuff that's going on in Squire Gothos, but basically, if these omnipotent beings, which we became later known to be Trelane's parents, hadn't intervened, the Enterprise and Kirk would never have made it out of that situation. Now, a lot of people point to the fact that Trelane couldn't be a Q because he had a machine that was doing all of that work for him. But if you guys remember in the episode, Kirk and Spock, being the high-speed individuals that they are, identified what they thought was the power source and they destroyed it. And what happened? Trelane was still Trelane. It was no change in none of his powers. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of similarities between Q and Trelane, especially Q's early appearance, especially like episodes Encounter at Farpoint with the general, with the obsession with the classic general outfits, all of that thing, the obsession with playing games and tricks and all of that. That's classic Trelane. And like I said, that was the basis for the character of Q, one of his many elements, a trickster. Now, here it is. If you guys remember the episode, The Q and the Gray, there was this civil war going on in the Q Continuum, right? Because basically they had got stagnant. They didn't know what they wanted to do. They was losing numbers. It was this whole thing going on. Now, the thing is that in that episode, Q decided to say, hey, you know what, Janeway, I'm going to approach you with having a kid because I think that that'll bring rejuvenation into the continuum if we could show that we could progress, that we won't stay stagnant. All right, that's very important. All right, because up until that point, there had been no Q that had been born in the continuum's history. Now, but when you think about episodes like True Q, right? You say, but there was a Q. She was a young Q and everything like that. But here's the loophole, and I'll talk about this a little bit more on a consistent track. But here's the thing. Amanda's parents, they had given up their powers and had released their obligations from being Q, okay? And what happened was they got together and had Amanda, all right? It was two mortals with the power that basically was given up as Q, having a mortal baby who still had all of the power as a Q. Now, here's the thing. The Q did not take Amanda's parents' powers. It states in that episode that they gave up their powers, all right? They chose to subdue them. They chose to not use their powers and live as humans, all right? That's a very big distinction, okay? And they are allowed to only do this because of the deal that they made with the Continuum and say, hey, okay, we ain't gonna use our powers, all right? As a result, Amanda was born with Q abilities, but as a biological human, all right? So she was never part of the Q Continuum, even though in essence, through the loophole, she was the first Q child in canon. Now, here we go over to the episode, The Q and the Gray. The thing is that linking those two episodes, this is why I think Q's first response was to approach Janeway, because the only other time a child had been born to the continuum, right, was when was through the use of a human, a mortal human. So Q was like, oh, okay, well, since that's the only time I know about, maybe I can do the same thing with Janeway and produce a human child that is Q, a hybrid, basically. All right. Now, upon going through that episode, they found out that 2Q can have a child together. All right, and that was the first time that it ever happened, and that was Q Jr. Now, let's go back to Trelane and why I don't think that he and his parents are Q. So here's the thing. Q don't like Q beings or Q level beings just running around doing whatever they want to do. If you decide to leave the continuum, you must give up your power, all right? Or the Q will remove your power. All right. If there's any negotiation with that, that Q is either imprisoned or that Q is eliminated. All right. That's the first thing. So Trelane's parents couldn't have been Q. All right. Second thing, if they were Q, that would make Trelane not an adolescent Q, which is not something we've seen in that episode. Because again, if he was an adolescent Q, that would go against everything that we found out that was going on in the continuum, everything with Q Jr. and everything that was going on with Amanda, which again was the first loophole. Okay, now another thing, people seem to forget that there are vast differences between some of the species in Star Trek canon and how big Star Trek canon is. All right, just because you find a being that exhibits near omnipotence, right? That doesn't mean that they are now automatically part of the Q. Kevin Uxbridge, that guy that ended up evolving under Beverly, John Doe. Think of all of these people who fill the gap, V'ger, all of these people who fill the metrons, that fill the gaps, right? Apollo, between Q and what we perceive as normal, not omnipotent or powerful beings. Okay, there's a, there's a big gap in there. All right, so it is possible that they fit in there. Also, if you look in the episode, Trelane's parents appeared as white light. When has the Q Continuum ever presented themselves anywhere in canon in a form like that? Okay, the closest thing I can think of is the sphere with the snakes, but that's not something that no. All right, so understand that first of all, Q Junior was the first Q born to the continuum. All right, any Q that's not or decides to leave the continuum must give up their powers or never use them. If they break either of those two things, they're either imprisoned or destroyed. Okay, so this is why I don't think and another big thing, if Q ever really wanted something, right, he could just snap his fingers and change the personalities of everyone involved. Remember what Amanda did with Riker? All right. Now, I know that wouldn't have been as much fun to Trelane to do, but never in that episode did he exhibit that level of ability to change the will of individuals. Now, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. As a matter of fact, let me know what you guys think, because a lot of people seem to think that this is the case. And I know a lot of extended canon, which, a lot of pretty good books, tell the story of how that's the case. But in canon, that's never been confirmed nor denied. But there are very good reasons to believe why Trelane is not and his parents are not from the Q Collective. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And as always, peace, recycle, and save the whales. You guys be cool.